Hello, everybody, and welcome into Lightning Round.
No, it's Greg Zerline.
No, oh,
I don't even know these people.
You have my solemn vow we are done at wide receiver.
Pemba said fold.
Till the next round.
This is sitting on top of my Scott Fishbowl. Trophy.
I have a cup for Cooper Cup, I guess.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday. It is lightning round time. I'm Kevin Tompkins, of course, Britt Flynn, of course, Andrew Cooper, who looks like a bobblehead right now. And joining us, Mr. Brian Drake, fellow Syracusan, host of the Fantasy Football Hustle. You can hear him on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Mr. Brian Drake, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing better than Buddy Boeheim at the moment, who news broke just got suspended for my beloved Orange and our beloved Orange. But other than that, it's college basketball season. It's NFL combine season. It's free agency season. When is it not NFL season? It's fun. There's so much news to break down. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is, met you at the Expo last year. Just great times to be had. We saw the Young Bucks. One half of the Young Bucks.
Yep.
Great times to be had. We'll see you. I'm sure you're going to be there this year too. Right?
I will be out there. Andrew and Britt, are you guys going to be at the Expo this year?
Yep.
Making my debut this year. Yeah, it's the plan.
Are you going to play fantasy or flag football?
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah,
no question. Like you got it, man. You got to fire the pigskin around. Britt, you're fired up too, right?
Oh yeah, I just have to dig my my cleats out of storage, except they're rainbow colored, so I figure that'll be like really easy to find me. I might want to get a more subdued color so I can just like.
No, it's cool. I also have rainbow colored cleats, so maybe we can be on the same
solidarity.
Team.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll bring it. Drake, you have rainbow colored cleats?
What am I? I have like some patent leather fake Jordan like Under Armour ones that I used to rock for softball. I have various styles of cleats and sneakers. I'll check out the turf and then I'll make my shoe selection from there, depending if we play in inside the dome this year at the new Canton Hall of Fame Village.
That's right. I forgot that was there. If we're going to be playing on there, I'm going to have to find some turf shoes. But I will try to lose a little bit of weight. Got some work to do on the old stomach here before I get on that field.
We need linemen too, Kev. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, like I'm playing lineman. Hey, I've got good hands. I just can't. I run like I have a cinder block attached to my leg. So
the tackle eligible is going to be hot this year, I heard.
The late stage Jason Witten is what I've been referred to.
We might talk about a few tight ends who fit that mold a little later in the show.
That's right. We're going to be talking about free agency. One of the most fun parts of NFL offseason is free agency. And yeah, the franchise tag gobbled up a few of the more attractive names on the list as far as wide receivers go, as far as some tight ends go, but there are still some good players here, and we're going to talk about them here. So let's start with wide receivers, because I would venture to say that might be the most attractive position for anybody looking for a wide receiver. We know there are a lot of teams looking for wide receivers. They're not all going to get, they're not all going to get wide receivers in the draft. So there's names here. Like let's start off with Christian Kirk. The former Cardinal is going to test free agency. We know, the Cardinals are also looking for wide receivers, but Kirk might not be back with them. So I feel like he's one of the more underutilized wide receivers. He's played on the outside. He's played in the slot. Drake, where do you see Christian Kirk ending up as far as his skill set, being able to go inside and outside? We know there's a lot of teams that, again, need wide receivers, but where do you think he ends up?
I'm a big fan of Christian Kirk. I just did a video on YouTube where I talked about some under the radar wide receivers, guys who PFF didn't have in the top 8 of free agent wide receivers. And Christian Kirk somehow didn't fall into that top 8. But I mean, you look at last year, 77 catches, over 900 yards, 5 touchdowns, 17th in the NFL in yards per target. Initially, I thought he would be a great fit for the New Orleans Saints. You could put him kind of outside with Michael Thomas on their side. They need help down there. But then I realized, oh, wait, the Saints don't have any money. So we've got to find somewhere else for him to go. And then the Cleveland Browns popped into my mind. There's obviously no Odell Beckham. He's long gone. Jarvis Landry, not long for the world there on Lake Erie. So they're going to need somebody to help Donovan Peoples-Jones out there. And I could see that being one of those spots where Christian Kirk comes in. We're going to see the numbers on the contract. We're going to be like, oh my God, Christian Kirk just got paid. But you got to have somebody out there to catch the football. And they got to try to make this Baker Mayfield thing work. So I like Christian Kirk going to Cleveland and disappointing everybody in fantasy because Baker Mayfield sucks.
Coop.
I like it.
You
Who's
go
got?
for
Oh,
it.
you want me to go? So for me, I haven't gone to the Falcons, and for kind of a lot of reasons that Drake pointed out, which is that he's a guy that started out in the slot when they had issues a couple of years ago. They moved him out wide where he had the 3 touchdown game right away, and they kind of kept him out there for a while. This year they brought him back into the slot. He's shown that he can play both flanker and slot, probably not big enough to play split end. So with the Falcons, you've got Kyle Pitts, who's this, obviously he's 6'6", 240, whatever. He can play both split end. He can play in the slot. He can play inline, and he can play a tethered position each time. So a lot like Michael Thomas does, right? Even when you put him in the slot, he's tethered to the line. He can beat the jam. You're not worried about guys holding him up because he's got size. Kyle Pitts is always likely going to be tethered. So you can take Christian Kirk and put him at flanker, put him at slot, have him go in motion, have him do the things that he's better at than, a team that's going to try and make him their number one wide receiver where he's, lined up, tethered to the line, facing the jam. So I think the Falcons are a good fit, and especially because I don't think Kirk's going to be as expensive as a lot of these other guys, and the Falcons don't really have as much money as, say, the Lions or some of these other teams that are, that have money coming out their ears, like the Chargers,
Yeah, I think I think both of those spots are pretty good. I mean, the Browns, who knows what's going to happen with Jarvis Landry, certainly, if he ends up leaving, other than that, you got those 2 tight ends. Who knows if they even can get out of Austin Hooper's contract too, because obviously they franchise tagged David Njoku to the dismay of a lot of people who thought that he could, especially in fantasy, that if he landed somewhere else, that he could run a ton of routes. It could certainly be a top 12 tight end in fantasy, depending on where he landed. And then, the Falcons, I think it's a really good landing spot too. I think he goes to the Bills. I think that's a really good ready-made spot for him with Josh Allen. They're likely not bringing back, Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders is free agent as well. So, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, Kirk, Knox. I think that quartet, Buffalo is going to definitely improve somewhere, whether they draft a wide receiver, pick one up in free agency, whatever they're going to do. Maybe they add a running back. We'll talk about that as well too. But I think the Bills are a really good spot for Christian Kirk. It's still going to be his fantasy value is not really going to change, even if he goes just based on the mouths to feed there versus his, I would say, underutilization in Arizona. But I think for a more football sense, I think Christian Kirk is going to provide a lot more than he would in fantasy. But I like the Bills as a landing spot for him.
Yeah, so I initially had the Bills, and then I shied away from it because that was the first thing that I looked, and I was like, I even wrote on the show sheet, Kevin, you stole it from me. So then I pivoted to the Falcons. So it's interesting that both of you guys kind of share my sentiments. But in addition to what you said, Coop, the Falcons ranked 8th in pass play percentage in 2021. I don't know if this needs to be said, if anybody's been living under a rock, but Calvin Ridley is a no-go for this season, possibly for the rest of his career, depending on how seriously the league wants to take it. And I think with that little of competition, Kirk's presence and skill set could be beneficial for both him and Kyle Pitts, and they could both be fantasy relevant. So, but I like either one of those. Drake, I hate it. I hate going to Cleveland. I think that's where receivers go to die. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great spot for fantasy. I just look at it in terms of, well, they have to pay somebody to come there and play. And I want to ask you guys this, because we know there's a plethora of really good young wide receivers in this draft. And there's a lot of kind of, we'll call them mid-range wide receivers here in fantasy, in free agency. So it's like, do you want to pay, I don't know, $10 million a year to Christian Kirk, or just say, you know what, I'm going to fire 2 bullets in the draft in the 2nd and 4th at some of these guys, and we'll see what sticks. Because, is Christian Kirk, if he's your one, is that really a difference maker for your team? Like, I don't think so. Like, you want him as your 2. Like, that's why I initially thought in New Orleans, if you had Michael Thomas on one side and then you had Christian Kirk there, like, that's a really nice fit. But, you know, again, they got to free up a little cash. But yeah, what do you guys think about that with this free agent class? But also, hey, there's a bazillion good rookies coming in.
Well, I think it really depends on where you are in the cycle, right? Because it's like, you know, you go for it, and then there's teams that are kind of rebuilding. If you're going for it now, especially like, for instance, you bring up the Browns, right? And Kev mentioned how you have 2 tight end sets. I talked about how he's not a good split end, but with 2 tight ends, you don't need anyone that's split end, anyone tethered to the line, right? Yep. So if you bring in a rookie, the issue you run into, and this is exactly what the Cardinals ran into last year with Rondale Moore, is that these rookies typically, I mean, some of them are 21 years old, so they're not big enough. They can't block. That's exactly it. So with Christian Kirk, I mean, if you go back and look at the highlights for Rondale Moore on multiple of his big plays, Christian Kirk was the guy out front laying the block on the screen or laying the block on another play that sprung Rondale Moore. So if you're the Browns, who reportedly made Jarvis Landry gain like 10 to 15 pounds when he got there to help with blocking, like, you're looking at these guys saying, we're competing right now, and we need somebody that can block right now because we're a running team. So that's a team where I think Christian Kirk makes sense because of the overall package. But like you said, if you're a team that's looking for a guy that can get 150 targets and change the future of your team, that's probably not Christian Kirk.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, and Landry and Kirk both. Oh, sorry, Kev. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Landry and Kirk both tend to work out of the slot too. So, like, where are you going to move one or the other? Like, where is the other skill set?
Well, that's the beauty. Situation? That's the beauty of the 2 tight end sets. I mean, that's what the Colts did for years when they had T.Y. Hilton, who's only like 5'10". He's not a very big dude, under 200 pounds. And instead of having a split end, they tried Andre Johnson, they tried DeVries Fountain, they tried all these different guys. Who was the guy that, they got a guy break his leg? They tried Kelvin Benjamin briefly, you know what I mean? Like, they were looking for a split end, but they didn't have one. So they just used 2 tight ends and flankers. So if you have 2 tight ends, both these guys can play off the line, playing flanker and slot, kind of rotating around. You don't really need to have, plus they have Donovan Peoples-Jones anyway if they want to use a split end. So you don't really need to have a real differentiation outside of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's move on to somebody who's gonna I think has a bit of an upward climb here to regain some fantasy value at least. Allen Robinson, who just posted his career lows across the board. So I would say Allen Robinson's probably ripe for a smaller deal than he would have gotten. It's definitely that smaller deal than he'll get when he tested free agency before, I believe 3 years ago when he chose the Bears. Reportedly over the Packers. So I'll go with Coop first as far as this goes. Where do you see Allen Robinson maybe rebuilding his stock a bit here?
Yeah, in terms of where he's at, he probably at this stage in his career wants to get one big contract with as many years as possible. Like, when you're in this age, it's kind of hard to play the 2 contract game. So for him, if he can go somewhere that has a bunch of money, has an opening in terms of targets, and he can be a focal point for a long term, that's where I'd go, right? I look at the Detroit Lions, and like I talked about with some of these other teams, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who can play flanker, he can play slot, but he's not really big enough to play split end. He's not particularly fast, so he's not going to be a field stretcher either. Allen Robinson would slot right in there. And not only that, but if you go to Allen Robinson's Twitter and go to his likes, you can see the tweets that he's liked recently. And over the last couple of days,
Allen Robinson Twitter, man, you're digging deep.
For sure, dog, for sure. So he liked this tweet.
Gotta grind those edges, man.
He liked this tweet from Lions Pulse. It just says, Allen Robinson to Detroit, make it happen. Allen Robinson went to that tweet and clicked like. The tweet underneath that, but from a Twitter account, Brad Holmes, Kyle Hamilton is the value. Brad Holmes is the GM for the Lions. He says, Allen Robinson, age 27, over past 2 seasons, 200 catches, 2,397 yards, 13 TDs, nastiest route running, consistent catch rate. Just basically talks about why he should be with the Lions. Like, all of these clips he's liking are things he's liking are basically things saying he should go to the Lions, and also videos of him torching the Lions. Like, he's just liking videos of him just absolutely scalding the Lions too.
Somebody should tweet at him, go, hey, the quarterback's Jared Goff. He's like, where's the dislike button?
I think he
Well,
might.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I'm like, is he liking it because it's like highlights of himself or because he actually wants to go there?
I mean, if there was a tweet out there that showed how much salary cap each of these teams had, you would probably like that too. And I think that's the part that he likes best about the Lions right now.
Yeah. I mean, Robinson kind of chased the money when he went to Chicago before. So I've got him going to the Jaguars. I mean, they clearly have a need. They clearly, with Marvin Jones, LaVisca Chenault, they need that top receiver for Trevor Lawrence and for his development. I mean, they brought in Doug Peterson as the quarterback whisperer. So I think that a move to Jacksonville, they have money to spend. They have the number 1 overall pick. They've got a lot of assets where they can, they're pretty decent offensively. They've got pieces there. We know James Robinson is probably coming back in mid-season, but they still have ETN. They can rebuild that line. Maybe they can, get some pieces in the draft too, but they can certainly add and be at the very least competitive. And then if Trevor Lawrence, glows up in year 2, then I mean, I would say a weak division, they could certainly make a little bit of noise. Allen Robinson could certainly get back to that 150 targets in Jacksonville. Absolutely.
Alexa, play I'm Coming Home. Right? Back to the Jags.
Yes, the reunion.
They should go out and get Marquise Lee back too.
Yeah, why not?
Well, you mentioned a weak division too, and I think that that's even magnified by the fact that the Colts sent Wentz to the Commanders, and that Tannehill might not be the Titans quarterback this season. There's a lot of uncertainty in that AFC
Commander
South,
Carson.
So. Oh God,
that division is so bad.
I can't even. Drake, you're with me in that division. You feel it. It's just kind of embarrassing.
That division sucks. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't see Tannehill going anywhere. I mean, who else are they going to get to play quarterback in Tennessee this year? If not for
Mariota.
Tannehill. I mean, you had the number 1 seed.
Alexa, play I'm Coming Home again.
Are we adding that to our clips now?
I think we might have to. Dude. I think we might have to.
We will.
Yeah, we don't have any appropriate clips for that situation.
Yeah,
him going to play with Ryan Tannehill. That's this one. It makes no sense at
all. Last week was the one week we played 0 clips, so we need to hit these hard this week.
Yeah. I don't know if Jameson Tyone was ready for the clips, though. He
wasn't ready for underdog, certainly.
Yeah, he did well though. I was impressed by his draft. He did a good job.
Yeah, he did.
Anyway, Drake, what do you got as far as Allen Robinson and a potential landing spot?
So last year was a total disaster. We just got to throw that out the window. But I mean, just look at the frame of work here. We've got Allen Robinson, 6'2", 220. He's a big guy. Last 2 years, 150 plus targets each year. 1,250 yards 2 years ago. He had over 1,100 the year before that. I'm not like a film breakdown guy. I'm never going to act like I am, but I listen to smart guys who are, like Greg Cosell. And Greg was even saying in a recent pod, he goes, Allen Robinson cannot separate anymore. He's clearly lost a step, so he's not going to beat you at all over the top. Now, entering his 9th year, what are we going to get from him? I don't know. I think he could be kind of like one of these just grinder kind of, I'm going to win physically versus, man coverage kind of guys. Maybe he gets 10, 12 mil a year. I've got him going to the Dolphins just because the Dolphins had a ton of dough, and now you got this new offense. I don't know if they're going to keep Devontae Parker around. Devontae Parker now pushing 30 years old, and we've heard the infatuation with Waddle down there with the new coach. So let's see if we can get on the other side of this, Allen Robinson to go along with Waddle and really trying to make some fireworks here and to be a great safety blanket for Tua as a guy who you can just find underneath. You got Gesicki now, lining up more as a traditional tight end, and you'll have Robinson on the side opposite Waddle. So Dolphins, you've got all the money in the world. Make something happen here, and he would look good in the turquoise.
Dude, that would be insane because they could use Gesicki as a traditional tight end and then pivot right to 4 wide receiver sets without even substituting anybody on the field. You just move Gesicki into one of those slot roles, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like that would be a pretty spicy offense if they could pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all the money. I mean, the Dolphins have $49 million in cap space right now, according to the website I'm looking at. So you got to spend it on somebody. They already paid all their corners last year. Go get some weapons for Tua.
Yeah, that's after tagging Gesicki. They did have like 60 mil yesterday. So, I mean,
Yeah, they kind of did an amazing job.
Amazing
job with the rebuild. The way they did the rebuild is amazing. You know, like get all the comp picks, you know, carry all the dead cap. It's exactly what the Lions did last year. And I imagine that the Seahawks are probably going to try and do something very similar. That might be the formula, is just like, you know, Kev, right? The old ghost ship with filled with dead cap
crew.
Yeah, the skeleton crew, ghost ship, dead cap just burning off into the sunset as it hits the water. But I mean, that's kind of the way to do it, dude. You know, scorched earth. So, Brett, who did you think you should go to?
So this is probably very out there, and not a lot of people think this, but I have him going to the Raiders. I mean, the AFC West is a super stacked division now, and the Raiders are about the only team who don't have a serious downfield threat. I mean, they've got Renfro, they've got Waller, but they're really lacking, like with Bryan Edwards and whoever else they have. The Raiders were also 4th in pass play percentage last season, and I don't think that that's going to change now that Russell Wilson has entered the chat. Like, I really don't. Derek Carr, he doesn't really throw a ton of deep balls. I think it's only like 11% of his passes go for 20 yards plus, but that's because he doesn't have any deep ball threats. I think if you get a receiver who can run the field, then his pass play and his choice is going to change. And then people can't focus in on Waller. They can't focus in on Renfro. And just with, oh my God, that strength of the AFC West, I don't think that he's going to run the ball a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, people might not realize that they think that Waller used to play. It's kind of an odd misconception. People think that because he used to play wide receiver, he plays a ton of wide receiver now. He really doesn't. Like, some of these tight ends play a ton of wide out. He played like twice as many snaps in line as he did in the slot or out wide. So I love what Britt's saying, because you have this true inline tight end. If they continue using that way, you have Renfro in the slot, and now you have a true weapon on the outside. And that doesn't mean that you don't use Bryan Edwards, because I mean, 11 personnel is the game a lot of the time, so he can still play too. You know, you lose Zay Jones, they don't really have anything else, so I like it. They have the money for him, right?
Yeah, they got quite a bit of money, but I mean, I still remember when people were trying to make Bryan Edwards a thing, and now he is
expired.
When did you add that, dude?
I added that last week. I'm sorry, he's expired. I mean, Zay Jones is a free agent. You know, they, like I said, they need somebody to play off of Renfro and Waller, and that is a pretty good spot. They're going to find a way to get some kind of receiver in there, whether it's through free agency or, you know, spending capital on one. But yeah, that's a good spot too.
I like it.
Yeah, let's move over to Juju Schuster, who played at the end of last season in the playoffs. Didn't think he was going to come back, but he found a way to say, "Hey guys, I'm still alive over here." You know, on his kind of swan song into free agency. So, you know, with all these, you know, big names like the Chiefs, like the Ravens that are rumored to be in the running for Juju, and I'll pose this one to Drake. Which landing spot for Juju do you think makes the most sense for what he does?
Well, Juju's an idiot, first of all, for not going with the Chiefs last year when they offered him a contract, and then going back to Pittsburgh to play with Noodle Arm Ben. Why he did that, who knows? But only 25 years old, only played in 5 games this past season. He's got to stay on the field. He's missed 18 games over the last 5 years. He can play outside. People think he's only this slot guy, but he can play outside, and he's a very good blocker, like we mentioned with Christian Kirk. So, you know, a team like the Browns could come into play here. He only made $8 million last year. He's a guy, because he was a second-round pick, he really hasn't made a lot of money in his career. Last year, with that 1 year kind of $8 million deal, was like all the money he's made. He only had one other year where he was even at $1 million. So he's going to want to get paid. And I think a sneaky spot for him, and not just because I'm a fan of the team, is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, they don't, because Nick Sirianni, coming from that Indianapolis tree, they don't like to say this guy's our slot, this guy's our X, this guy's. They just like to say they're wide receivers. We can move them anywhere. And the Eagles, they're going to run the football with Jalen Hurts. If they can get a wide receiver in Juju Smith-Schuster that you can play inside or outside, he's going to run block. He doesn't have to move that far in the state of Pennsylvania. That's my sneaky spot right there for Juju. In Eagles Twitter, there's a little buzz about that. So that's my landing spot for Juju.
Yeah,
Well, they definitely need wide receiver help for sure. I mean, I don't know how much of the combine you guys watch, but they actually got, Gio up there saying, for the love of God, get more receivers and more linebackers. Like,
and he's a good red zone threat too. Thing. He could score.
Right.
Yep.
It's just crazy. They use a first-round pick, 2 first-round picks, and a second-round pick, and ended up with 1 wide receiver.
Oh my God. Did you guys see, this was hilarious. I tweeted this out the other day where after the Calvin Ridley news broke, people in Philadelphia were then tweeting out stuff like, at NFL, Jalen Reagor came up to me in a parking lot with an envelope that said 1,500 on Colts money line. He's like, I mean, everyone's just tweeting at the NFL, like, Jalen Reagor is taking DK, sponsorship and all this. It's
N'Keal Harry. Yeah, I saw that from Patriots fans.
But yeah, the Eagles, they got to get somebody. They're going to draft someone. I think they're going to take 1 or 2 shots here in free agency in Philadelphia to try to get. They have to get somebody new in here. It can't just be, Devonta Smith and then Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins is a nice ancillary piece. You can run him out there on some go routes, but you need somebody else. I can't see them spending another. They have 3, but they're not going to spend another first-round pick on a wide receiver.
Speaking of Patriots fans, we had a quick question. As Patriots fans, I'll answer this one. If the Pats signed Bobby Wagner, is he low-key IDP number 1? What's funny about that is that all the Patriots fans all offseason on Twitter and Reddit were like, we need to get younger at linebacker. We got to move on from Donta Hightower. And then the moment Bobby Wagner's available, everyone's like, we need Bobby Wagner.
He's going to get paid too.
It makes me laugh. But I mean, he would in that offense, the way they do things, he would be a serious asset. So I don't know if he'd be number 1, but he would definitely be a guy that you probably take in the top 5. We need to hear from Mr. Jordan Loop on that. But that's my thoughts on it.
Well, and Hicks got released from Arizona today too. There's a bunch of really good linebackers who just they've cut loose and let go. So that's going to be really interesting.
Teams don't want to pay linebacker anymore. They just simply don't. It's just analytically, it's not smart to pay linebackers, to pay safeties. You can find those guys later in the draft, and you can pick up these veterans off the scrap heap. Someone's going to pick him up, Hicks or Wagner.
Devondre Campbell.
Yeah, and you're going to get these guys, and you know what it always falls into? The Ravens always draft really well. The Steelers always get these guys, and it's like every damn time you look at the draft, you go, how did the Steelers and the Ravens end up with really good linebackers? Because they value the position, but some other teams, Philadelphia, do not.
Yeah.
Well, I'll poop on the Cowboys because they've taken Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch. You take him high rounds, you pay him big money, and then you end up cutting him. So
and Micah Parsons, that's another pick invested in. I mean, he's turned out great, obviously, but
right, exactly. Coop. So, what do you think about Juju Smith-Schuster? Where can you see him ending up?
Yeah, so I've been writing articles about how teams can free up money. I think that this team, the Vikings, can actually free up money. Kirk Cousins could get them from the red into the black immediately with a restructure if they are going to stay with Kirk Cousins. So, I mean, they could do it day one, right? Daniel Hunter is on a very strange deal that is basically made to either be cut or restructured. So they can free up money. I think that, when you have when you have Kevin O'Connell coming over from the Rams, they want to use that same 11 personnel set, right? So it's like they had these extra tight ends, CJ Ham. I don't know what they're going to do with him because they don't use fullback, but they use 3 wide receiver sets. So for me, with an aging Thielen, you bring him in and you just use 11 personnel all the time, like you kind of wanted to, with Thielen and Jefferson on the outside, him in the slot. And then as Thielen gracefully chips off into the night, you use him the way Brian Drake suggested there, which is that in 2 wide receiver sets, he plays flanker. In 3 wide receiver sets, he plays the slot. I mean, you could even do that now and just rest Thielen since he's been hurt every single year. So I think if they can make it happen, that would be the best landing spot for him, now and long term. based on what they want to do. I mean, he could be Kevin O'Connell's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa,
I think
bold.
that's that. So he's going to be the 2022 wide receiver 1 overall then.
That's what I'm predicting. No, I'm just saying that I think that as far as
conservatively,
as far as his long-term value goes, maybe not short-term with Thielen still there, but long-term value, if that offense is going to do what the Rams do, like, you want to have the guy that's running those short to intermediate routes. And when you look at the numbers, like Big Ben had the fastest release of any quarterback, which is what made Juju so good with him. Tom Brady was second. No one was even close to those guys. But when you look at the other guys that are in that ballpark, they all have what they need for the most part. I mean, Aaron Rodgers would be an option if you really went there. But Kirk Cousins is within those top 5-6 quarterbacks in terms of speed of release, 2.6 seconds or so last time I looked at it. So that's the type of situation that you want for this guy. You don't want a guy scrambling around and looking for downfield threats like Russell Wilson, because he doesn't go there.
Right, certainly. Now my pick for Juju, it's kind of wishful thinking, really, but if they were able to clear out some cap, and nothing has shown me that the Dallas Cowboys know how to manage the salary cap based on what they've done, but Juju to the Cowboys seems just, I feel like they have to get somebody. They took Amari Cooper off the books, but if they were able to clear out some room and maybe, they find a creative way to get somebody in there. I mean, Juju Schuster, I think could be a real a nice pickup for the Cowboys alongside of Lamb, and if they end up drafting somebody else or whatever they end up doing. But we know that Jerry Jones loves to make that big splash. I feel like Juju doing the TikToks on the star, I mean, that just seems like a one of the biggest homer moves Jerry Jones can make.
God,
get
please
Juju to
kill me.
Kansas City so he could do those with Mahomes' girlfriend and brother. Let's go.
Yeah.
Enough of this.
Yeah, I think that if we really want to maximize TikTok, that's probably the place to be, or somewhere in Los Angeles,
or we want to just burn the world to the ground.
Yeah, definitely not New England.
Brett, as a Cowboy fan, you would love that, I'm sure, right?
I mean, I'm still holding out hope that they don't drop everybody. I don't know. I think it's incredibly stupid to say that Amari Cooper is going to be let go, because then you provide these other wide receivers, which is basically the entire damn team, with leverage in their contract negotiations. So it's just incredibly stupid to say that you're going to let Cooper walk and whatever. But I actually think that I have something that Coop might like, because I have Juju going to the Patriots.
Go on.
I like that face. I like it.
It would hurt his TikTok career though.
Belichick
Bill
wouldn't put up with that at all.
I don't know if Belichick knows what TikTok is.
No, but I mean, so last year we've all seen, from years and years and years, how important the slot is to Belichick's system, right? And last year, like, Jacoby Myers kind of proved it. He was the primary slot receiver and was the leading wide receiver for the team on the season. Now, I think Juju is more of a natural fit in the slot than Myers is. Juju played 77% of his career snaps out of the slot, and Myers has played just above 55% of his career snaps. So if we were to, yes, perfect. So if Juju came in there, he would kind of free Myers up for some more downfield stuff. And I think that he would kind of thrive in the slot, where it would open up everybody else, because let's face it, Kendrick Bourne and Aguilar are not like downfield threats. They're just not. So I don't know. I kind of like it.
Another team that has 2 tight end sets built into the program, so you don't necessarily need a split end, right? Like, obviously, if N'Keal Harry panned out, you might not have even gone for the 2 tight end sets. So nobody needs to play split end in that situation. So it could definitely work if they wanted to do it. I think they have the money.
Oh, I think Kev's muted.
I'm totally muted. If Juju can get Belichick to do the Corvette, I mean, that would just absolutely break the internet. But I already know, if you ask Bill, he's going to be like,
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
I mean, Randy Moss
When
did
did
get
that
him to,
one come up?
Randy Moss did get him to dress up like a pirate and go to a roller rink for Halloween. So anything's possible.
True.
I love it.
All right.
Let's so we've hit on like at least the top wide receivers. Let's get over to running backs here with and start with Melvin Gordon. So as we know, the Broncos did acquire Russell Wilson right after, or basically right in the middle of Tuesday. So does Russell Wilson, Drake, improve the odds of Gordon being re-signed by the Broncos, knowing that the team with that acquisition is now looking to compete right now versus playing into the future?
I'm sure for Melvin Gordon's sake, he'd like to, because they just got a lot more attractive. But I've got a different contender who I think he would mesh well with. And that's the Buffalo Bills. Now, we've heard for years now, Buffalo has been trying to get someone else in here to play running back for them. They even brought in the corpse of Matt Breida this year. But if you look at the Bills, Devin Singletary led the way this year, 870 yards, 7 touchdowns. And of course, Josh Allen, he's got 122 attempts. He ran for over 700 yards. Now you can look at Melvin Gordon, 900 yards this year, 8 touchdowns. Plus he has 4 years with 40 plus receptions. Here's a guy that you can expand this Buffalo offense with. You don't have to start taking guys off the field anymore. He can go out there and really play. If you're in the 2-minute, he doesn't have to come off the field. Like, Zach Moss and Singletary, how they kind of had to interchange each guy out there. Melvin Gordon, I think, would be a really good asset and a change of pace from Singletary in Buffalo, and you got a good chance to win a ring.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, I know we're in a time crunch at this point, so I will say mine, and I think he should go back to Broncos for pretty much the same reasons that Drake just said, except that he's already been there. And, we talked about Bill Belichick a second ago, how, he's one of the greatest coaches in the league. He's been using 2 backs for 20 years now. You know what I mean? No guy has had both 200 rushes and 35 plus receptions since he's been the coach. I think that he should, the Broncos aren't going to find a better, cheaper, older guy, and this guy knows the system, and they're trying to win. I think he should just go back. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks for Javonte Williams, but the Broncos don't care about having the best fantasy running back at all. You know what I mean? They care about having healthy running backs, which Melvin Gordon helps that. So I think that's where he should go.
Yeah, I would say he sticks with the Broncos too. I mean, as everybody wants Javonte season, but as far as a winning football team, I mean, the NFL almost demands that you have more than one capable running back right now. And that's right now, Gordon is still plenty capable, receiving and rushing, to pair with Javonte Williams. I mean, both were fine in fantasy. I mean, Gordon is still fine as far as an NFL running back. He's not dead. As much as I wanted to say he was dead last year because I wanted it to be Javonte season, I think people are going to have to wait if they have him, certainly in Dynasty. But like this move with Russell Wilson shows that they want to accelerate that timeline on wanting to be a contender. They've got a tough division to do it in with the Chargers and Chiefs there. The Chargers are on the cusp of the playoffs. The Chiefs obviously being, a fantastic team. But, I mean, Gordon certainly gives the Broncos you've got Nathaniel Hackett, you got Justin Outen there coming from Green Bay, who just has been running a 2-back system with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So, they're going to be running that Shanahan, McVay kind of system in Denver, and you have 2 ready-made running backs. If you can convince Gordon to come back, it's going to benefit both of them. And it's going to, I think that kind of system is going to work out certainly well to at least compete in the AFC West. And, I think they'll be the one division that does get 3 teams in again.
Well, so I'm going to kind of piggyback off what you said, Kev, about how one team just can't have one stud running back, right? And hear me out. I think he's going to go back to the Chargers. We all know that Eckler is the number 1 running back in LA, but who was behind him last season? You have Justin Jackson, who had that one great game, but a lot of that was garbage time. Then you have Larry Roundtree, Josh Kelly, all pretty much struggled when Eckler was out or needed a break last season. And I think the Chargers are backed up against the wall now that Russell Wilson has come in. They know that they need to compete. They need every position, including backup positions, to be stacked. The Chargers ranked 5th in pace of play in 2021. So even if Gordon is in a backup role, that's 10 to 15 touches a game. I mean, he averaged 15 touches a game in Denver. And I think he gets an upgrade here because the Chargers have a better offensive line. So I think that if he were to go back to the Chargers, he would still remain fantasy relevant and probably put up better numbers.
That would be wild. The Chargers do have a ton of cap space, even with the Mike Williams franchise. So, or not even franchise,
$43.5 million.
Yeah, $43.5 million. So, I mean, that'd be crazy. But the thing was, I think it was a little contentious when he left. So, there'd have to be a lot of, fancy dinners when they figure out that deal. It's gotta unburn some of those bridges. I think.
Man, but they weren't even really like in contention for the championship back then. Now that they are, I think they'd be willing to overlook a little bit of that mouthing.
Yeah, I mean that would be a great landing spot for him, no question.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move over to another running back here with Leonard Fournette, and I'll ask you, Britt. Is there a bell cow role for Fournette somewhere in the NFL, or do you think he's just a committee back at this stage of his career? And where do you think he ends up?
I think Fournette should have been a bell cow back his basically entire career. The problem was he had all of those problems in Jacksonville with his character and blah, 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 blah. And that's why he's been signed to these like 1-year deals since. I think he's going to go to the Dolphins. The Dolphins ranked 30th in rush yards in 2021. Mike McDaniel is not going to stand for that. He is not going to do that committee. I mean, he'll do a committee thing, but he's not going to stand for a bad committee. So I think Fournette would go into Miami, immediately have RB1 status with PPR upside, and they have a ton of money to sign him to a multi-year deal. So if he were to get signed for that, then he would have more stability in dynasty formats too. So yeah, I'm really fingers crossing for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think he goes with Dolphins division mate. I mean, we talked about Melvin Gordon. Drake talked about him going to the Bills. I think the Bills land Leonard Fournette. I think that he's clearly a 3-down running back at this stage. I mean, he had 69 receptions last year. He's played about, I believe, had 62% of the rushing attempts in Tampa Bay last year, where he was that guy. Ronald Jones really wasn't a factor. Then, those guys got hurt, and we know what happened at the end of last season. But I still think Leonard Fournette can be kind of a bell cow. I think he would, present a little bit of, mismatch if he and Singletary were to be on the field together. Whether that happens, I mean, probably not. They still do play a fullback, but I think Leonard Fournette can certainly. I think he could do a little bit better than he did in Tampa Bay. I don't think he can quite get to like where he was in Jacksonville, where he's getting 100 receptions or 100 targets, whatever it was. But I still think that he can be at least a mid-range RB2, flirt with RB1 weeks in Buffalo. Clearly, they're going to live in the red zone. They're going to have a lot of opportunity to score, and if Fournette goes there, I think he's going to have every chance in the world to at least recoup some of that value.
Yeah, I mean the thing with the Bills, man, they're like the Eagles of running backs right now, where they just spent 2 fairly early picks on running backs, and we still sit here and say they need a running back. Kind of stinks for them, but like Zach Moss isn't really panned out. Singletary was okay, but it's just like the problem I have with the Bills is that they have Josh Allen who runs a ton, and then you're gonna have a split backfield with 3 guys. I mean, I don't know if I'd really even love him in fantasy there. Where I would love him in fantasy is Arizona, because they have Chase Edmonds is currently not on the team. James Conner's not on the team. I mean, if the season started today, who's their starting running back? Eno Benjamin? Like, seriously, who
him or like Jonathan Ward.
Yeah, so I think Leonard Fournette is a guy that's shown that he can catch the football. He can run it on goal line. You can run it in any situation. Like Britt said, the one thing that he's terrible at is not having a legal tint on his car and getting arrested like 4 or 5 times in a row. You know what I mean? But
and
like,
throwing
you don't have
punches
to,
at people wearing helmets,
and giving the finger to Bills fans and just being absolutely kind of a jerk to Tom Coughlin. But Tom Coughlin's a jerk too. So anyway, I think he's kind of beyond that, the attitude issues. And I think that if a team just wanted to sign one dude to play every down, a team that doesn't currently have a running back, why not the Cardinals?
I'm going to go with another team that really doesn't have a running back, and that's the Atlanta Falcons. And now you could take Leonard Fournette, put him in an Atlanta uniform, And there is a lot of potential for fantasy success here in Atlanta. You got to remember, 2 of the last 3 years, 84 targets and 100 targets for Leonard Fournette. You can play him all 3 downs. This year, 800 yards rushing. The Falcons last year, Cordarrelle Patterson was their leading rusher with over 600 yards. They can get rid of Mike Davis and that, terrible signing for only a dead cap of $750,000. So I got a good feeling Mike Davis is going to be hitting the street and working at Jack in the Box come early September. So think of Leonard Fournette there, and he's even beyond the dead zone of the drafts. Now, if he goes to Atlanta, you're looking like 5th round, 6th round. Oh, hey, there's Leonard Fournette with an every down role on a terrible Atlanta team that needs someone to throw the ball to. Because, oh, by the way, they don't have Calvin Ridley either. That's a sneaky spot right there. That's league winning potential right there. Leonard Fournette. I'm getting excited just talking about it.
Kev, can we get that expired clip from Mike Davis, please?
Sure can.
Expired.
Every week on SiriusXM, Andrew Erickson and I would just say, what is Mike Davis's prop bet for the week? And then we would take the under live on the air. That was our just whatever it is. It could be 1 yard. Take the under.
And JB Berry was on the other side of that, smashing the over. Sorry, JB.
JB in shambles.
JB fell for the quads.
In the beginning of the season, my husband was really convinced that Mike Davis was going to be a thing, and I'm like, I ain't touching him.
Yeah.
And,
why not, though?
Who got the last laugh?
It was possible. You know what I mean? It was kind of a coin flip, and the coin landed on.
It was possible, but
between the cracks.
I didn't feel confident with that offense.
It was a coin flip, and we were guessing heads or tails, and the coin ended up in the bottom of the couch.
Somehow. Exactly. Let's get over to one more running back here. James Conner, who certainly rebuilt his value going over to Arizona. I think it's pretty unlikely that James Conner is going to retain the RB9 value in points per game that he did last season. But I'll ask you, Drake, is there a situation for James Conner that will be as fruitful for fantasy as he was in Arizona last year?
Well, I put down the Miami Dolphins. We've mentioned them once or twice already in the show. They've got nearly $50 million in cap space. I imagine they're going to draft somebody to be a young up-and-coming running back. I don't trust Myles Gaskin or any of these guys they have there now. So why not get James Conner? He can kind of be that, veteran presence in the backfield and nurture along the young guy. And, hey, why not fall into the end zone 6 or 7 times? And as you're, what the hell flex in a 2-flex league or whatever, and maybe in best ball, he helps you out a little bit. But that's where I like him going. Let's bring him to Miami. So we're putting him out there. And then who else did I sent some other guy to Miami earlier today. So we're rebuilding the Dolphins, make the Dolphins great again, like it's 1983.
It was Allen Robinson, I believe.
Dude, bring them all. They got all the money in the world. Pay me enough. I'll become a Dolphins fan.
Yeah, I mean, for me, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, side note, I went to high school with Don Shula's granddaughter in Clarksville.
Wow.
So
that's a fun fact.
Just something random.
Should have tossed you one of those steakhouses.
I was on a little bit of a delay, so I didn't cut in quite as early as I wanted.
You got to fight for that bandwidth, Britt.
Yes. What is it? We got to break this down. Britt, what is your husband doing right now with this bandwidth? You're freezing up like Frosty the Snowman on us.
He's playing Call of Duty. You sound like the Terminator.
It's not
Come
Call
back
of
in time.
Duty. It's like League of Legends or some shit like that. I don't know. He's playing his damn Xbox. I'll text him right now and tell him to cut it.
You got to designate. Sellers, you can call that. You got to designate 1 hour block. Maybe do some meditation or something. Sellers, we gotta get this. We gotta get this block.
I'm saying cut the Wi-Fi. I'm cutting out.
Locked in. Yeah. So for me, James Conner, I don't think teams are going to look at James Conner and say, this guy's amazing. I think they're going to look at James Conner and say, that's the guy that fell into the end zone for the Cardinals when they needed him to. You know what I mean? Like his season was kind of like LeGarrette Blount style football. And he might be a little too high end for this location, but I think the Seahawks are going to just be looking for anybody that can just kind of carry the load and help them get through the season. Right. The thing is, if they send him to a 2-year deal, it could cancel out any comp picks. So it would have to be a 1-year deal. But a lot of people are going to be taking 1-year deals because they're waiting for that Amazon money in 2023. So, I mean, it's hard to say if that's the guy that they're going to go for, but Rashad Penny's a free agent. Alex Collins is a free agent. Chris Carson has a neck injury, which for running back, that doesn't sound good. You know what I mean? So I could see them just grabbing whoever they could grab as a plotter or somebody they think they can just hand the ball to a bunch of times and kind of James Robinson their way through the season while not winning games and successfully preparing for life after Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I could see him being like that Jamal Williams, when the Lions picked him up last year, kind of being that guy to as a bridge, so to speak. Right. But I think he kind of I think he's got a spot there. He wants to be back in Arizona. He has said that. If they end up getting another running back, he can be that, like Chester Taylor was with Adrian Peterson, like that kind of, we've got a veteran back, but eventually we're going to cede this stuff to the new guy. We know Connor is a character guy, and that's somewhat, that's a perfect spot for him where he can be kind of that bridge to the next guy. If the Cardinals want to, get a guy like Isaiah Spiller, or Breece Hall, or Kenneth Walker, guys like that, that's a guy that you can have knowing what you already have in James Conner. They're likely not bringing Chase Edmonds back into the fold too. So, I think they need to get something else out of their running game. Bringing Connor back, as kind of that transition to a decent capital running back in the draft, I think would be a good move for Arizona.
So I initially wrote the Cardinals because I do think that they bring him back. But what if he were to go back to Pittsburgh and spell Najee Harris? Because apparently Mike Tomlin was, quote, heartbroken over the fact that they couldn't retain him in free agency. Benny Snell is not the backup guy. Their offensive line still has a bunch to work with. The Steelers have a ton of cap space. So do you think that the Steelers go and make a move for Connor to come back to Pittsburgh and be like that compliment to Najee?
I think we got to get that I'm coming home clip loaded up because this episode
totally
is chock full of them. Dude.
That
chock
would crush fantasy value.
That would.
It really would.
Unless they give Connor like 12 carries
on a year.
Or like, dude, you're going to run in the preseason and then we'll keep you on like the practice squad.
They give him 12 carries. He has 13 touchdowns.
He can be running back Ricky Seals-Jones.
The last thing you need, if you're a running back like Najee or pretty much anybody, the last thing you need is a 6'1", 235-pound bowling ball coming in to Gus Edwards and Mike Tolbert all the touchdowns away. Like that is, I mean, Drake's right. It just crushes value.
Najee's the same age as Connor now, right?
Yeah, I think, old. Najee turned like 45 today. It's his birthday today.
Oh, really?
It's actually his birthday today. It is his birthday today.
You were serious.
Oh, I'm dead serious. His birthday. Yeah, he turned 24 today. It's March 9th, right? Yeah, no, it's his birthday.
Wow, that is amazing.
Information, man. New shit has come to light.
Not gonna get nothing past me, brother. Not today. Not on Najee's birthday, dog. Not today, not tomorrow.
He's taking his burner phones and throwing them in the river in Pittsburgh for making sure nobody finds his DraftKings account.
Right. I'm out here wishing Najee happy birthday. I'm out here looking at what Allen Robinson's liking on Twitter. This is the deep stuff, dog.
You guys are grinding.
How many burners do you have, Coop?
Oh, a ton of them, dude. Kev Tompkins, the Kev Tompkins account, that's also a burner of mine. I run that. Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
Sorry, I'm actually a simulation. So.
It glitches out.
Yeah, that's
Britt. Yeah. You've been looking like a simulation all episode with your internet.
Britt is Princess Leia over here. Like, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna have Michael Jackson on next week too. So
the Obi-Wan trailer dropped, and she's just like, guys, the Force. You got to.
I wondered when the shit talking was going to begin. I wondered when it was going to begin. Here it goes. Let's just finish the show out with it. Come on, guys.
Arkansas sucks. They're going to be out.
We just need that gift of the dude going deuces and he disappears.
You got to get to these tight ends, bro. It's already 10:30.
Oh, she's coming back.
She's in the stream with audio only. We got get the husband down here. What's he doing? Get him on the show.
Oh, my Lanta.
Spice this thing up.
Look, she split me in half.
Britt, get this husband down here. I want to hear about this, 5th grade game he's playing.
Oh God.
Good Lord.
He's probably asleep playing it because he's not answering any of my texts.
And if anyone out there is a League of Legends fan, use promo code esportspro on Fantasyland. Get 30% off today. Tony has all your League of Legends picks. I'm sure he's picking sellers and all the other high level gamers. So check that out at Fantasyland. That's a plug.
I'm so old. I don't know what any of this is. And I'm kind of glad. Like my kids.
Amen.
Oh my God. I'm waiting. My kids are going to call me in 5 minutes and be like, Dad, I'm playing League of Legends now. I'm like, what is Pornhub broke? Like, what are you doing?
All I know, I don't play, but all I know is James Grande won $2,000 betting on that stuff last night. It has me all fired up. Yeah. We got a guy at Fantasyland, this guy Tony, that just crushes esports.
I'm gonna start texting Ryan Hale. I'm getting the digits here. Like, send me the deeds.
Yeah,
The Godfather. Sure. Yeah, let's talk about quarterbacks, because I mean, we know there's some pretty rank options here with Mitch Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jameis Winston. There's been rumors floating around about some of these quarterbacks. So, I mean, is there anybody that could even maintain a shred of fantasy value if any one of these guys gets a starting job?
Jameis Winston threw for 5,000 yards and 33 touchdowns once. I don't care how many interceptions he throws for. That matters.
Britt's frozen, and I think someone's behind her.
There he is, dude. The internet has improved drastically now that you've walked into the room.
Well, I don't know about drastic.
Here, there you go.
What is this video game you're playing, sir?
I was playing Diablo 3. I broke it out again because I was on the Xbox. I haven't played the Xbox in forever. Because she's hogging up the other computer where I play League of Legends.
Hey, are you going to get into any Elden Ring? I've been hearing that's like the game.
That is the game.
Yeah. I work so much that I don't get to play a whole lot. So I'm scared to dive back into a big, huge RPG game that's going to take up a ton of time because she don't let me play hardly at all. Unless she's doing something like this, and I can go sneak off and play a game. But
it's so funny. I was on Brit's side, but now I've actually changed teams to Seller's side.
I've got the next big game, NHL 94.
So
it's going to be huge.
Oh.
I have this controller. It's actually these two controllers you just plug right into the TV, and you can play NHL 94 and Madden 94, and it's the controllers of the entire system.
There you go. My life peaked right there during those games.
I've seen the old Atari games like that. I didn't know they actually did anything more modern than that.
Get a little Pong going.
Give me a little Tommy Lasorda sports talk baseball.
This was gonna happen.
Awesome. We just wanted to bust Brit's balls.
I want to break out the first Tecmo Bowl again. Let's get real here.
Now
that game took up much time in my college career.
Oh yeah.
All right.
R.I.P. Otis Anderson. Let's go.
I want to be Bo Jackson and just run over everybody.
Bo Jackson's cheating in that, dude. I've seen clips of people just literally being untackleable with Bo Jackson in that game. So.
Oh yeah, dude. That game was amazing.
Not fair.
You can run one play and run out the quarter with Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Are we going to tight ends or no?
Anybody else have a quarterback?
No, I think Jameis is the only one who's relevant.
Yeah, I'll back out. Thanks, guys. I'll stay off.
Catch you, buddy. Good to see you.
I'll give you the quarterback who's going to start. I'm going to say 7 games for a team this year, and then people are going to realize he sucks again. Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew makes $2.5 million this year. Why are you going to pay, $20 million to Jimmy G? Sucks. You're going to pay $15 million Mitch Trubisky? Sucks. You're going to pay $15 million to Jameis Winston, stealing crab legs. Just go trade a 4th-round pick or 3rd-round pick for Gardner Minshew, pay him $2.5 million this year, and see what happens and draft a kid. What are we doing? Why are you wasting all this money on these other clowns? Gardner Minshew's that much worse than Jimmy G or Winston or Slick Mitch? Come on. Mitch Trubisky's terrible. Enough of this Mitch Trubisky nonsense.
The Mitch Trubisky marketing crew needs a raise.
Yes,
I don't know
really
what
the Bills are working hard for that comp pick.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I like Minshew, man. The dude's electric. I don't even care if he's good. He's fun. So I hope he
it's
goes
kind of the
somewhere.
same thing. Like, why did the Bears have like trade up for Justin Fields when you had Dalton on a $10 million contract and you still had Foles as the backup? Like,
That's why their GMs.
That's why that regime isn't there anymore.
well, no, exactly. But I'm saying, like, people make damn decisions when it comes to quarterbacks because you're just like, it's like they almost panic and do a deer in the headlights thing. And you're like, what am I going to do if I don't have a backup? And then they make dumb decisions. I don't know.
I'm tweeting that Gardner Minshew salary thing. That was good shit.
Get it out there. Get it out.
Let's hit up tight ends real quick, and then we'll vamoose here. So Zach Ertz, where's he landing?
Cardinals. There's no way. There's no way they let him go. Yeah, I understand why they didn't franchise tag him because it would be like $2 million more to franchise him, but they have too many loose pieces, including literally all 4 of their tight ends.
And I think they wanted to be the 4 wide receiver air raid team, and now they have 2 wide receivers and Antoine Wesley, or one wide receiver and then like a couple half wide receivers. You know what I mean? Like they need somebody who can play slot. So I think they do their best to keep him. Otherwise, they need to just bring in every wide receiver, and I'm not sure they can.
Eckler just retired in Indianapolis. All these other guys are a bunch of Jags.
Whoa,
Indianapolis.
Not my Eli Wolf.
Not Eli Wolf. Not Kylan Granson.
Not Kylan Granson.
Zach Ertz reunites with Frank Reich and becomes Gardner Minshew's new favorite target in Indianapolis next year.
I feel like putting on a Colts uniform makes you slower. Like it takes like a half a second off of like your fastest time.
It's called the Jack Doyle effect.
That is. It's like the cone of influence.
Yeah. Doyle's done. Okay, you're right. That's the thing is that what sucks is that it pushes all those guys. Those guys are all on they're not blockers, so it kind of pushes everybody down. But yeah, Mo Alley Cox probably not gonna be back. I mean, Ertz could eat over there if he went there, no question. Because they, after Pittman, they don't really have a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Evan Engram, what do you guys got?
Kev, you're gonna hate this. He's going to the Packers.
I love that. I want it. I want it bad because I think that he could.
You're going to be so proud of me because let me just say, I looked at like the utilization by teams. So he and Robert Tonyan actually have very similar block percentages versus pass percentages, but Green Bay doesn't relegate Tonyan in those wide stick routes. They actually let Tonyan like go out wide and things like that, and that's where Evan Engram succeeds. So I think the Packers are logical.
Tonyan was playing a partial snap share.
And
I mean, the Packers for years have been looking for that big body guy. I mean, they drafted all these guys who were drafted or signed. All these guys, all of them are over 6'3". Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Equinemius St. Brown, Geronimo Allison, Jeff Janis, Jake Kumaro. They brought Jimmy Graham over. They brought
Bennett.
Who was the guy from the Colts he got hurt on the Colts and then he got hurt. He opted out for the Packers. Devin Funchess, right? Like they brought all these guys in looking for a big body to play opposite Devontae Adams, who actually isn't really that big. So I think that a guy like Evan Engram going to that offense, he would play every snap, mostly in a wide receiver slot role. And, if you have an issue drop, and he only dropped 4 passes last year. You know what I mean? Like everyone harps on the drops because they're really visible. I mean, I know Brian Drake probably remembers the big drop against the Eagles to lose the game and kind of end the season for the Giants, which everyone remembers that.
I was at the Blarney Stone on Tip Hill watching that one, Kev.
Heyo.
What people don't remember is that over the last 2 years, Evan Engram has 169 targets and 12 drops. George Kittle has 167 targets and 13 drops. I mean, last year, Jamar Chase had a higher drop rate than Evan Engram. So for me, and we've seen him be a top 5 tight end with Eli Manning. So you put him with a new team, new quarterback. We've already seen him be good with a better quarterback. Daniel Jones has 26 turnovers and 21 interceptions over the last couple of years. The Giants have been dead last over the last 2 years in touchdowns. Like this situation for Evan Engram, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk about him on Twitter, but this isn't Twitter. This is StreamYard.
I called you out. I knew you would talk about him here.
That's why I was like, I don't need to talk about him, but
Like we talk about the Mitch Trubisky marketing team, the Evan Engram marketing team resides on Lightning Round.
That's
Evan
true.
Cooper.
Yeah, it's just me. I'm the only one that speaks. I'm like the Lorax of speaking up for Evan Engram and Eli Wolf because nobody speaks.
The Lorax?
He speaks for the trees because the trees have no tongues. You know what I mean? Like nobody's out here defending Eli Wolf, but I am.
The trees also have similar hands as Evan Engram too.
This podcast is over.
We're not talking.
Oh,
No Kenny Pickett slander yet.
Yeah.
I'm sending Evan Ingram to the Jets. They need playmakers to go around my favorite Disney princess, Zach Wilson. Let's send him there. He doesn't have to move. He could probably stay in the same apartment. Why not? Go to the Jets and hang out there and be their number 2. So I'm going to send him to the New York Football Jets.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Is there spring training stuff still in, or training camp still in Cortland?
I don't remember if they're going to move it back. I know they went back to like Florham Park or wherever they do it down in the city. These teams are all greedy. They don't want to do them in fun time. But the Bills will be at St. John Fisher again. I know that. Upstate New York.
Yeah, they've been there for forever. So,
okay. Jets
go.
quietly one of the best landing spots for tight end, especially young ones. If they draft somebody too to pair him with Zach Wilson for a long time, I mean,
right?
They're targets there.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it got so bad at the end of the offseason last year. People were hyping up babyface killer Tyler Croft. Exactly. That kind of reaction. Tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski. Well, that's the last player we'll talk about. Where does he end up?
I don't think he plays this year. I think he just stays home. Why come back? What's the point? You retired once already and took a year off. Brady's gone. You got a ton of cash. Who gives a crap?
For a Hall of Famer, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of right there that, like, he could, if he wants to walk away, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I think. And he's got plenty of money. He's got all sorts of endorsements because he's a big goofball. But, the other thing I see him doing is he's going to go somewhere where he wants to go, right? So why not the Buffalo Bills? I know
I'm coming home.
But I'm coming home because he's from Buffalo. Is that right,
again?
He is
he's from there. Yes, he's from there. Obviously, never played there, but I mean, like that would just be a spot where he wants to go, and I think that his options are limited to whatever the hell he wants to do. He's not going to go play for the Jets.
Yeah,
I got him going back to the Bills too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I said I literally
it's the lag.
him. I know. I don't know what happened. I actually, side note, got my Mac from Fantasy Alarm and Spotlight Sports Group today, and I went to go like hook up all my things, and there aren't any USB ports on this Mac. So none of my equipment. Yeah.
Right?
Dude, I'm having trouble getting them to send me a new hat. They send you a guy named. I'm hitting up in Pemba after this show.
Hey, you know what? We've got Pemba next
Williams
week.
Still hasn't got the show, Dan Williams still hasn't got his Mac. So I didn't want to text him and say, "Hey, my Mac came first." Ha 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 ha.
Next week we're bringing up the Mac, and I'm going to ask him. I'll be like, "Can you send me a sweatshirt at least, dude? Like, what the hell? I've been with the company for years."
Well, I just happened to join like right at the acquisition period, and it was just a sweet spot. Whatever, I don't know. Damn, you need to get that eye roll.
Handed out computers.
Yeah,
you didn't get your Fighting Chance fantasy laptop yet?
I know Kev's going to screenshot.
I got a Chromebook.
In the middle.
Anyway, what I was going to say, when y'all are talking about the lag, I don't really use this laptop, but I think wants versus needs and what you need to do is very applicable to Rob Gronkowski. Does he want to retire? Does he want to go to this team? Does he need to go to this team? No, he doesn't. So if Gronk doesn't get to go to Cincinnati, who he specifically said he wants to play with Joe Burrow, then he's going to retire. He already retired once. Like, if he doesn't get what he wants, there's no big deal. Like, why not just shoot for the moon? Go play with Joey B. And then if
he
you
said
don't,
he wanted to play
whatever,
with him,
you have your WWE. Yeah, he literally said that he wants to play with Joey B.
Cincinnati nightlife's not ready for Gronk.
Yeah, they don't even have an indoor practice facility.
No, that's the worst franchise ever. People go over the moon. We don't have enough time for this, but like, oh yes, Cincinnati's up and coming. They have the worst owner in the NFL, folks. He's terrible. Mike Brown's a clown.
When you're
Well, I mean, Joe
maybe
Burrow even said that. He's like, why haven't the Bengals had COVID issues? And he's like, well, there's not a lot to do here in town, so that helps.
I mean, like
Green Day.
It's true.
when I mean, I'd probably lose some Bengals fans for this, but when your personality is based on chili, I think you kind of need to have like a guy like Rob Gronkowski come to town and spice things up a little bit, you know?
You want to put yourself on the map, have ESPN talk about you even more than, overrated ass Joe Burrow? Bring Gronk to town.
Yeah, the most action Cincinnati seen before the Super Bowl is the yearly Cincinnati Xavier basketball game where a fight breaks out every freaking half.
I like it. It's college basketball season right now. Get that
right.
My buddy went to Xavier, and it was like you go to the game and fight, and then if you win, you go home and like take a couch out of your dorm room and set it on fire. Like that's like
Was
the
that a
attitude
thing?
over there.
You're from Arkansas. What do you mean? You don't know how to set couches on fire?
Yeah, go to
No,
Morgantown, West Virginia.
apparently-
They'll teach you how to do it right.
No, listen.
Well, I said that
In
you
Arkansas,
win
they
first.
set quarterbacks' trucks on fire.
That's taking it next level right there.
I said you got to
Honestly, have
win.
y'all not
I
heard-
said you got to win first.
No,
so
listen.
Arkansas.
Okay, speaking of the Bengals,
Take that, James
Brandon Allen
Vanderbeek.
is the Bengals. No, listen. Brandon Allen's the Bengals' backup quarterback, right? He literally got not one but two trucks burnt to the ground.
Did a booster buy him
Times.
another one?
Honestly, two trucks in front of his house got burned to the ground. It was insane. So, I mean, couches.
That's absurd.
Well,
It's true.
and then Ryan Mallett is now working
it's
at
true.
Wagner.
See?
Anyway,
Oh man, a Chevy.
No, he's
Avalanche,
actually
too.
he's high school. He's a high school coach now.
okay.
Maybe if he would have
So
brought
he
his
only works
Antron to his
part-time then.
class. Oh my god.
All right,
All right, we
that's
got
our
to get
cue.
out of
It's
here.
getting crazy.
We got to get out. Drake, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's a lot of fun. And go check out the Fantasy Football Hustle with PFF's Dwayne McFarland. Go check out fightingchancefantasy.com.
Please.
Myself came from there. Britt obviously still right there. Brian Drake runs the show right now. Great site for up and coming writers. Anything else you want to add about that, Drake?
If you want to write in fantasy, I don't care if you want to write about, we got a kid doing NASCAR right now. You want to do NBA, you want to do betting, you want to do NFL. It doesn't matter. Come find your niche at fightingchancefantasy.com. Hit me up at Drake Fantasy at FC Fantasy Sports. We'll find a home for you. Somebody like Britt Flynn came on, worked her ass off, wrote an article every single week, got a paid gig over at Fantasy Alarm. And it's just that simple. Put in the work, show people, what you can do. And that's what Fighting Chance is all about.
Yep. Make sure you include your address so Drake knows where to send your laptop and all your equipment.
We still have T-shirts, by the way, that we bought for the entire staff that Steve has not sent to anyone. So you'll probably get it in person at the Fantasy Football Expo. But we bought them literally 2 years ago. There's also a mask pre-pandemic. We bought Fighting Chance Fantasy masks for the entire staff that now are obsolete.
Yep. 3 years, and I got a T-shirt and I got a dinner at the expo and a mask. There we go. Let's go.
I'm texting Steve right now to ask
Good
him.
gig, man. All right, I got to rock and roll, guys.
But literally,
All right,
the
we
best,
are out of here.
the best group of people you can ask for.
100%. We will see you guys next week. We will talk about free agent reactions because next Wednesday is the start of free agency. Technically, the tampering period starts on the 14th. So we will talk about all the moves that have been made. We are out of here. We will see you next Wednesday. Have a great night.